Hi, my name is Brendan Bigley.
I'm Stephen Hilger.
Welcome to Into the Aether. It's a video game podcast. That's
right.
new. It's a new video game podcast. Throw it on the pile.
Throw it on the pile. Get to it when you can. So we're just going to talk about some things in the news that we found interesting, what we're playing right now, and just sort of see where that goes.
Yeah. So I think we mentioned in the last episode during our E3 extravaganza, which everyone had been asking for, everyone was waiting for, everyone's looking forward to.
In line. Where is the content?
Yeah, like, when are Brendan and Steven gonna finally talk about E3? That's what everyone's been asking. So we gave the people what they wanted. We hopped on Skype.com and made it happen. So video games.
So what has been jumping out to you in the news, Brendan?
I think the thing that I'm most excited about, as someone who I think completely was reinvigorated on the Nintendo Switch after E3, the thing that kind of stuck out to me was the whole Sony not letting people use their Fortnite accounts on the Switch thing, but how that's kind of echoed out into now this joint marketing campaign between Nintendo and Microsoft. Have you seen this yet?
I actually haven't, so tell me all about it.
So Microsoft released a new version of Minecraft on the Switch. There was it seems like what happened was they released Minecraft on the Switch, but it was like a ported version of the mobile one. It wasn't like the full game. Right. So that was kind of out for a while and it was sticking around and people were playing it and I guess enjoying it. But then Microsoft was like, no, this isn't the full experience. We need to release the whole thing on Switch. So they did that recently. They just ported the console version over, along with crossplay to PC and tablets and phones and not PlayStation, because Sony won't allow it. So they released a joint marketing campaign where it's it opens with a split screen between the Microsoft logo and the Nintendo logo. Sorry, the Xbox logo and the Nintendo logo, and it shows people on two different consoles playing together, which I think is really fascinating.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I'm actually very happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's like the dream. I feel like that's a thing everyone's wanted forever, and it's finally coming true.
Yeah, I just think it's part of me likes exclusives in the sense that each party is working on different things.
Yeah.
But I don't like companies hoarding stuff for that. You have to, pay to experience this.
Right.
You chose the wrong system. You have to pay it. That's where it gets kind of shitty. So. And Sony's extremely guilty of that. I don't play Fortnite, but if I did, I would be very frustrated that I couldn't just sign in, elsewhere. Yeah, I'm in this weird situation. So I never really played Fortnite. I played Fortnite on PS4 right when it came out. I played two games and I won both of them. And I was like, I'm never playing this game ever again. I have a 100% win rate. That's it. I'm done. I'm out. Achievement, whatever. So when this Switch thing happened and Fortnite kind of entered the zeitgeist again for all these people who had Nintendo Switches but had never played Fortnite, basically everyone on my friends list on Switch was playing Fortnite every single day. So I was like, okay, I guess I got to play this thing. Realized that I couldn't log into the account that I made on my PS4, so I had to make a new account. And now I'm probably never, ever going to play on PS4 again, even though I've become a fan of Fortnite in the interim. Right. So by doing that, they've actually prevented me from ever spending money on their platform ever again. And anytime a cross-platform multiplayer game comes out between Switch and anything else, I will probably always get it on Switch or Xbox from now on. They kind of shot themselves in the foot in a really shitty way. That's true. I mean, I think it's also part of me wants to say that a lot of the exclusives for PS4 have been single player oriented. But I can't imagine that's the market they're going for, really. I think that just sort of happened by circumstance.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Bloodborne, Persona 5, a lot of RPGs and stuff. That's sort of where they have a stronger foothold in. But yeah, I can't imagine they're not going to try to undo that, but who knows?
Yeah, I think if there's a market difference in the amount of money they're bringing in on Fortnite for the next couple weeks, I could see them kind of turning that around. Because Fortnite generates hundreds of millions of dollars a week, which is incredible.
I can't imagine, yeah.
And, if you're buying the in-game currency on PS4, Sony's getting a cut of that. And if they lose that cut because everyone's switching to different platforms, I'm sure they have to change their mind. But I love this Minecraft thing because Microsoft owns Minecraft now. So I like this idea of collaboration between the two. And I do like what you're saying, like this idea of every platform is going to have its exclusives, and in a lot of cases those are probably single player. Sometimes in the case of like Microsoft, you're going to have a Halo or something that's going to be multiplayer, but for the most part a cross-platform multiplayer game, it seems like, could now actually be cross-platform, which I think is really nice, to kind of be platform agnostic when playing online. I think that's really cool, and that's a thing that I've wanted since like the PS2 era, and it's nice to see that kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a difference too. Like a game like Bloodborne, which I would classify it more as single player, but I know there's a huge multiplayer element to it. That's a game that I can't imagine From Software wanted to only be on PS4. You know, like that was not,
unless Sony just gave them enough money. You know, that's just like this,
that's true. You know, and that was also when Dark Souls 2 was coming out, independent of Miyazaki's development, right? So that's probably why. But even still, like, I think it's because now From Software is with Activision for Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice.
Oh, really? Is Activision publishing that? Wow.
And they are going to be on every system. It's not an exclusive anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that. But they also said there's no multiplayer, so we'll see how.
Oh, interesting.
Happens.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about Sony realizing that they're fucking up, because the thing is, like, they're so in the lead right now, they don't have to give a shit at all, you know?
Yeah, like, exactly.
And I saw a really great interview with Phil Spencer at E3 where he was talking about this exact situation. He was like, I'd like to say that if I was in their position, like, he was pretty candid, like, yeah, PS4 is way in the lead over Xbox at the moment. But he was like, I'd like to think that if I was in their position, I would not be doing the same thing as them in regards to cross-platform multiplayer, which I think is encouraging in a way, especially if Xbox gets the jump on the next generation, as you were hypothesizing.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it's the sort of like age-old theory of like those in the lead are not going to work. It's like the tortoise and the hare, essentially. You know, like you're just going to be like, whatever, we'll do our thing. Which will probably work fine. I mean, there's so many Sony exclusives that I'm excited about, as we talked about in last episode. Like, so, and I'm not as involved in multiplayer, but I am happy to hear, especially with a game like Minecraft, which is so like popular with like a younger audience, like that being on the Switch with Microsoft support is probably going to be a great thing.
And the idea of like you sitting in a living room, like I could imagine myself at like 8 years old sitting in a living room playing on the Switch, or like my friend playing on the Switch and I have it open on my phone and we're playing together. Like, that's sick. That's a really
that's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So hopefully Sony joins in. Otherwise, they won't get that Fortnite cash, you know?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? Yeah, that's the oldest I've ever sounded, I think. Hey, you kids on Fortnite?
What about you? What's going on in your world?
In my world? Oh, man. I mean, I feel like a lot of the games I'm excited about are still like very much on the horizon. I'm really excited about Cyberpunk, more than I was at E3.
Yeah.
The more I hear about it, the more, because I've been slowly playing through Witcher 3, which I got like really late. And then I had mixed feelings on a lot of elements of the game, but now that I'm in sort of like the last leg of the journey and the main story is winding up, I'm just like, I'm enjoying the game more, imagining how they're going to sort of add what's great about Witcher 3 to the setting of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's still very much on the horizon. Otherwise, not too much. I'm definitely getting a Switch in the coming months, so we'll be able to talk more about that. I have a curse where whenever I'm involved in a video game-centric podcast or project, I don't have all the current systems. So, like, I finally have a PS4, and everyone's like, "You can make PS5." I'm like, "Give me a break."
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Switch and definitely excited for Smash. That's another game where the more I hear about it, the more excited I am for it to come out. So.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of videos that came out of E3 of people playing that game, like high level Smash players playing that game, and it just like it has totally lit the fire in me again to play that game. Like, I never was able to play really competitively. I knew like some of the tricks of the trade, but I'm excited about Smash. I just hope that the multiplayer is not as bad as it was on the Wii U. Did you play that at all?
I played it on the 3DS actually. I played a bit on because my roommate had a Wii, so we played online a little. We usually played against each other,
Yeah.
and that's sort of like I think even if the online is good, the quintessential Smash experience is being together.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
it would be nice because I think that there's a lot of people who would like, and I will say this: the online for Smash 4 was way better than the online for Brawl, but that goes without saying.
Right, yeah.
that was like a joke. Like I thought I was like doing it outside of the game's intention. It just felt like broken and like
Yeah. It was like you bought like an illegal copy of Brawl that had like a multiplayer mode hacked onto it.
I remember though you could bet on matches with a meaningless currency. That was like the perfect experience for Brawl.
They had that in Smash 4 on 3DS specifically also, which when that game came out, I remember I was working just like menial kind of office desk job, and whenever I was eating lunch, I would always just flip open my 3DS and just like eat lunch and just bet on matches. And that was like what I did for like a month. It was great. It was really fun.
Yeah, it is cool to watch. I mean, that's the other thing too about that game is that even if you're not playing it, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah,
and that's a testament of a good fighting game, I think.
Who do you usually play as? I don't think we've ever talked about this. Who are like your go-tos?
And do you want to limit it to the newest Smash or just in general?
Go wherever, yeah.
Go wherever.
Because I have different ones for each game. So
yeah, the newest Smash I played a lot as King Dedede.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I liked him quite a bit. I also liked Lucina a lot.
Yes, same.
And I actually liked, I think it was like King Dedede, Lucina, and Toon Link were like my top three. I try to be good with Duck Hunt because I just loved the concept so much. But
yeah,
like, I never was really that good with Duck Hunt.
Right.
In Brawl, I think it was actually Luigi. I did play a lot of Luigi.
Yeah.
And then in Melee, Dr. Mario, actually. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dr. Mario. I love that all these people are coming back. It's so good.
Yeah, like Dr. Mario too. He was even back in the last one. And I was like, what an obscure, like I didn't know anyone else played as him except for me.
Yeah.
He's like because he just has he has that down A where his fist becomes like giant and like knocks you down. Right. And he also like has a purposeful down B move, which is nice.
Yeah,
because Mario's like, I have a water gun. It's like, all right.
Yeah. They gave Mario Cappy in the new one and got rid of the flood thing. Thank God.
That's really good. Yeah, the flood thing was just awful.
Yeah.
But who did you play as?
In Smash 4 it was mainly Lucina, or if I was like really seriously competitive, Captain Falcon.
I love Captain Falcon too. Yeah, he's great.
Captain Falcon is like absolutely one of the funniest characters of all time.
Yeah, he gives it his all. Like even when he falls, it's just like everything's like, yes.
But like besides that, I'd always wanted to play Captain Falcon ever since Melee, and just like could never really like lock it in. And something about the way he moves and feels in 4 was like, oh man, this is
because he was awful in Brawl. They nerfed the crap out of him in Brawl, which was really disappointing. But he's great in the 4th one.
Yeah, really, really fun. And I love that in the new game they're doing that thing where if you're playing 1v1 and you land like a really powerful move like the knee or the Falcon Punch, like it's gonna freeze frame for a second. You're gonna have like a hit stun moment. Oh my God,
the knee is so like. It's the most like anime Smash gets in a good way. It's just like, yes,
Yeah, it's so funny because you have all these other characters. You have Lucina. You have like basically the whole Fire Emblem roster, and for some reason, Captain Falcon is the most anime. Of all of them.
Yeah, like even amongst the anime characters.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to know that in college, my freshman year of college, when I was the most free socially, my text message ringtone was just Captain Falcon going yes. So, again, not a great social move, but I was free, so
Yeah, totally. But yeah, Smash Ultimate looks remarkable, and I just want it to be out immediately.
Yeah, it comes out in December, right?
Yeah,
that's going to be a big Christmas for Nintendo. Like myself included. That's like when I'm getting one. Yeah,
especially because I think Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee come out a month before that too, so it's you have Pokemon and then Smash back to back like that right before Christmas.
I might actually try to do it because I've only gone Black Friday shopping once in my life, and I thought I was doing it wrong because I went to GameStop at 10 a.m. Like rookie move, right?
Uh-huh.
But like no one was there, and I got a PS4, and it came with Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us, and it was like $200. And I'm like, this is great. Why am I not always doing this?
Wow. Yeah, I went weirdly to GameStop also for the first time ever this year for Black Friday.
Yeah.
Or I guess the previous year, and I got PSVR for like $0.
That, by the way, that is not a plug for GameStop because I normally do not.
Oh no, that place is absolutely terrible. Yeah. It's just the worst.
Also, pro tip: if you go to GameStop and you are buying a new controller, they will by default give you a used one without telling you. So just specify like, unless you don't care, but it's like a $10 difference, just get a new one because like why not?
Yeah, definitely.
So there we go. Haha, gotcha GameStop.
Gotcha GameStop.
Gotcha GameStop. Well, there goes our sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it could also just be a segment of our show, I guess.
Yeah, everybody. By the way, pro tip: do not don't go to GameStop.
Don't buy your amiibos from GameStop.
I do wish there was like a low, like, because I go to comic book stores a lot, and I love that experience, you know, of like getting to know the employees and like talking about comics. And I wish there was that for video games.
Yeah,
like, I feel like I'm sure there are a few like retro game shops that have that kind of atmosphere, but like it's few and far between.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is like Goodwill at the moment. Like Goodwill has like a video game section.
Yeah. Not to say that there aren't really friendly GameStop employees, but like as a brand, it's not known for that.
No.
So
yeah, it's problematic in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
So what you've been playing?
I have been playing a bunch of stuff. I've been playing Minutes, that game where you die in a minute. Yeah, that's really cool. I haven't gotten too far, but I really like the concept, and I really love the art style. Is interesting because a lot of retro games look like they would have been on Super Nintendo.
Right.
This game looks like it would have been on the original Game Boy.
Yeah, or like a TI-89 calculator.
Yeah, or like a Tiger Electronics game.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice looking than that, but it has that kind of like monochromatic style, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I really like the world and like the sense of urgency that it makes when, you know, because it has that kind of classic old school Zelda style where you find new items that open up new passageways, but like the minute lifespan adds a whole new element to it, which I think is really cool. So I'm looking forward to diving deeper into that. I'm not sure why. I just like got it and like played it and I really liked it and I was very nervous and I moved to something else. But really into that. Like I said earlier, I'm slowly finishing up Witcher 3, which I have to say, I think that game, when I first got it, I wanted to treat it like a Skyrim where I just like did a little bit of everything on the side. But I think that game shines way more if you kind of stick to the main quest, honestly, because like that's what I'm most immersed in. You know, there's some side quests that pop up that are like an extension of the main story, but like seeing the main plot unfold is like why I'm still playing it, because I have to say like the controls are bad. They're just bad.
I didn't enjoy the experience of playing that game as much as I enjoyed the story.
And that's kind of where I'm at too, and that's why I'm sort of sticking to the main plot. Although I do like Gwent, oddly enough, but I don't see myself getting the Gwent game because like the idea of buying a digital card game now is sort of akin to like starting smoking. So it's like, I just don't want to have that life. Not to say that it won't be fun, but I'm just like not looking for that. I got into Hearthstone back in the day and like spent probably too much money on that. So I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
So yeah, finishing up Witcher 3, and I've also been playing Chrono Trigger again because I just missed that era of RPGs. Yeah, and everything's Minute's probably the newest game of that bunch.
Yeah, I played Minute at PAX. They had a really, really good PAX demo in the PlayStation booth because I think it was also like the week it came out. They had it at the booth. So I played their demo. It was basically like the beginning of the game, essentially. It's like you find the sword. I won't like spoil anything, but you kind of just like bop around. There's the guy that talks really slow. You know who I'm talking about?
At the lighthouse. Yeah. That was such a funny gimmick. They really like... The world feels very much like they centered around the life mechanic, which was what makes it work.
Right, totally.
So yeah, the guy's like, I was expecting it, and maybe it does, so not super far, but I was kind of weary of it getting very dark.
Oh, interesting.
thematically. I guess I'm just like poisoned by Undertale, where I just expect a sharp turn in this like cutesy retro world. But so far we're okay. I don't think it will, but I think that like, I mean, it's inherently dark with the short lifespan, but there's not like a major meta twist or anything. So I kind of didn't want that to happen. I don't know why. I was just like, I just need to like have a light, fun affair today.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah. So I played it at PAX and I was like, this game is out right now. I'm going to go home and get it. And then like, as I was playing it, I slowly started to think, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but I slowly started to think this game's going to be on Switch at any moment. Like, this game's going to come out on Switch in like 4 days. Like this is definitely, it's not announced. They didn't announce it on Switch, but I was like, this is definitely coming to Switch at some point. So
It's
I held off.
And it's funny you say that because I had the feeling after playing it that I'll probably get it on the Switch once I get a Switch. That and Celeste, I would also want to get on the Switch.
Celeste is awesome.
Because that game is one of my favorite games of the year so far. And it came out like in January, I think.
Yeah.
But I really, really liked it. And I haven't done the like B and C sides, but even just the main quest, like I was not expecting that heartfelt of a story from a game like that. Really, really got to me.
Yeah. I love what is it? I think it's the third level, the hotel.
The Ghost Hotel?
Yeah,
that's great.
I think that game like really shines in its in its world. You know, like once you lock into the mechanics are like, okay, this is perfect, whatever. I don't have to worry about the gameplay at all. Like, let me just kind of fall into the narrative they're trying to weave in front of me. And I think that Ghost Hotel like stuck out to me as like one of maybe my favorite platforming levels. Like, ever.
It was the most like and it had the best music too. I love
unbelievable.
When he turns into a ghost chasing you. Mm-hmm. I think also thematically the idea of like trying to help someone and they're like, not that they're beyond help, but that the way you think you're helping is actually making things worse.
Yeah.
Is really interesting.
Yeah.
We were talking about Scott Pilgrim earlier, but it reminded me a lot of like a Brian Lee O'Malley kind of story. You know, where like sort of internalized feelings are manifested in a very literal way.
Yeah.
The art style too. I mean, definitely it didn't feel derivative. It just felt like inspired by that kind of tone. I really loved it.
Yeah.
I love the moments where it lets you kind of have conversations at your own pace. Like there's one point, I think near the end, where you can just talk to Theo about whatever.
Yeah.
That moment really stood out to me, especially for just like someone who suffers from anxiety and panic attacks. Like it really felt relatable. So I love that.
Celeste is it's a good video game.
It's a good one. I'm gonna buy it again.
Highly recommended. Yeah. So anyway, they have since announced Minute for Switch, so I'm just waiting until that happens, and then I'll pick it up and play it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that because I think it's also like it just feels right for that platform.
Yeah.
And like I'm running out of space on my PS4, and I don't want to. I feel bad deleting games.
Oh, so, you should do what I did. I got an external hard drive. Because it has external hard drive support now. Cool. I got like a 4 terabyte for like $100 or something like that.
That's not bad. I should do that.
And I literally have like 200 games installed on it. So I just don't delete anything ever again, and everything's always installed whenever I want it, which is always really fun because I'll just like open up the library and just see this giant list of things like, fucking.
Especially if you play Destiny 2, because that game alone takes up like my PS4.
yeah, exactly.
I should get that.
Yeah, highly recommended. It's a weirdly freeing thing because like now every time it's a new month of PS Plus and they're like, here's the 2 games. I'm just like, whatever, download them. I'll get to them eventually.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been playing. We mentioned it last week, but at the Nintendo event, they announced that Hollow Knight was out like that day, like day and date. So I picked it up. I started playing it. And for those of you who don't know, Hollow Knight is like Castlevania, Metroidvania kind of like experience in terms of, you know, world building and like jumping around and like unlocking new abilities and letting those grant you access to new areas and things like that. But it has a more Dark Souls-esque combat mechanic going on where it's like you're never really getting any stronger. You're just getting better at playing the game over time.
I love that.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite things about the Souls franchise. And weirdly, the games like, I don't know, puzzle games like Luminous or like even a Guitar Hero. I think weirdly, like if you play that game enough, you start to feel yourself getting better at it.
Sure.
I'm having that experience right now in Hollow Knight. For the first couple hours, I'll say like not stellar. There's no indication at all of what you're supposed to be doing or where you're supposed to be going, which works in Dark Souls and doesn't work in Hollow Knight as much because you're kind of expecting it because of the art style. It's like kind of cartoony in a way. It's like very hand painted in certain aspects, like the environments are hand painted and the music is beautiful. So it kind of lulls you into this sense of like, you should be ushering me through this, but it's not at all. It's like still very harsh. But I, over the past, like, I guess week, have put in maybe like 15 hours into that game, which I wasn't expecting at all. And it's like every time I sit down and play that game for an extended period of time, I find myself absolutely floored by something new, whether it be something story-wise, thematically, finding a new character, unlocking a new area that looks completely different than everything else, but still fits into the world in like a Dark Souls-esque way.
Yeah,
I'm just like constantly floored by that game over and over and over and over again in a way that I haven't in a really long time. I'm like enthralled by it. It's like all I want to do right now is go play Hollow Knight. It's a really, I'll say this, it's a really nice time to be unemployed because I have Hollow
Knight. yeah. I remember like some of the brightest, most recent game experience I've had was like right when I graduated college and like nothing was said. So like, well, got a lot of time. That sounds awesome. I definitely want to pick that up.
I think it's like $10 right now on Steam.
Oh, nice.
It's like on the summer sale right now, and it's $15 on Switch, which is like way too cheap for what you're getting. Honestly, I've never been that like person that talks about the value of a game monetarily versus the actual content of it. But literally, as I'm playing this game, I'm like, I can't believe I only paid $15 for this. It is worth significantly more than that. I think it's unbelievable. It's
That's
like
awesome.
an achievement, and I have no idea how many people made it, but it feels like a small team. It's wild.
That sounds great. And you mentioned before the thrill of playing a game that like the difficulty curves as you get better at it. It's not about like you might level up or something, but it's still very much. I feel like with the Dark Souls games, leveling is almost like a difficulty slider where like if you're having a lot of trouble with the boss, you can grind a bit and it might be a little easier.
Right.
But like it's still up to you. And you might actually be happy to hear, I don't know if you knew this, but in the new Souls game, Sekiro, there's no experience. There's no levels. It's just you and your stuff, basically.
It's awesome. That's great.
So I was happy to hear that. I'm sure some people might have, like, they went out and said, like, there's no levels, there's no character customization, there's no multiplayer. So some people were like, okay, I'm not going to play it because that's, like, what I played Dark Souls for.
Yeah.
I disagree heavily. I think that's... I don't necessarily like want all that stuff gone, but I think hearing that means that they're very focused on certain elements of the game that makes me excited.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I also think in the case of something like Sekiro, like that, Miyazaki has earned my trust to a certain extent. Like,
for sure.
Some of the best video game experiences I've ever had in my life are playing that dude's games. Like, I will try whatever thing he's putting out. That's kind of how I feel about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Like, that game doesn't look like it's for me, but I've invested like literally 20 years of my life into those games. I feel like I kind of owe them just like one weird experimental shot.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like there have been at this point, you know, Bloodborne didn't deviate from the soul structure too much. You could argue that like the gameplay is focused on different things, but like it feels like you're playing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So like they have 4 Dark Souls games. So like I'm happy that, you know, from watching the E3 footage, it looked like, okay, this is Samurai Dark Souls basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually happy to hear that like they've made bold steps to like at least try different things, if only for the ability to like jump and to use your grappling hook. That adds so much more to it, you know?
Yeah, the idea of a game like that with that kind of verticality, but also to allow you to traverse within that verticality in a really, like, interesting and quick way, whereas in Dark Souls and Bloodborne, like, if there's a vertical level, it's like, okay, I'm just running up ramps for fucking 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that game, obviously. I was disappointed to hear that there was no character customization, but what that leads me to believe is that there might be more of a protagonist centric plot then.
Yeah, it seems like it is. It's weird. Like it's weird to say that Sony as a company has become kind of an auteur, but like it feels auteuristic in that every single exclusive that's coming out for PS4 now is just like a single player narrative story driven game.
Yeah, like Last of Us or
Ghost of Tsushima.
Is Death Stranding gonna be? No, that's for everything, right? Whenever that comes out.
I don't know. I think that might be an exclusive.
That might be. Yeah, because I know Metal Gear was back in the day. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Until the end. I think 5 was on Xbox, but I could see. I'm not super sure. I think it might be an exclusive though. And then
it is. Then
like Uncharted and I don't know, that is like the stamp or God of War. I think that is like the PlayStation stamp right now is just single player narrative game, third person over the shoulder, like run through an environment.
Yeah, that seems to be their thing. And that's where the big question mark is, where in terms of them opening up to cross-platform multiplayer, is of how much they really care about that. I can't imagine they wouldn't. I mean, it's not like you can only it's not like you can only do one or the other,
Right, yeah.
Like, especially when it seems like there's a conscious effort to not do it. Like, I feel like they could probably get away with being like, hey, play Fortnite whenever you want, but also have this single-player experience.
Right, and honestly, like, so there was an executive from PlayStation who left and is no longer at PlayStation. I guess like the NDA has expired or whatever. So he was just like tweeting about this the other day. And he was talking about how when this happened with Rocket League, because this exact same thing happened with Rocket League, it was literally just about money. Like the higher ups at Sony were just like, if you're going to be spending in-game currency on a thing, we want you to be doing it on PlayStation. We don't want you to be able to, spend that money on an Xbox and then use it, like turn it in on PlayStation. Like that is not that's not what we're looking for. So if it really is about money, then like maybe the idea of going and grabbing exclusive games like Death Stranding or something, like take some of that budget and move it towards getting like exclusive shit for multiplayer games. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, what if there were like exclusive Sony skins that you could get in Fortnite and Rocket League and Minecraft and things like that? Like
that'd be kind of like, that's sort of like back in the we talked a bit about this generation in our first episode, but back in the days of like the original Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. Like I remember like when Soul Calibur 2 came out, they each had a different guest character depending on what console you got for. Like fun stuff like that, I think could like. It gives the consumer a choice of like, which one do I want? And like, they each get a profit off of it. I'm not sure how that impacts the numbers directly, but I would like to see more of that sort of like friendlier competition rather than like, no, this is ours.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think my concern for Sony, like if they're, so when this generation started and Xbox One was announced and it had all that like really horrific DRM stuff and like you couldn't trade games and Sony released that video. I don't know if you remember this. Sony released a video during that E3 that they made. It was like 10 seconds long and it was like, here's how you share games on your PS4. And it was two guys and one of them was like, here's my game. And the other guy took it and said, thanks. And then it was like the Sony logo. It was like the PlayStation logo. And that was the whole ad.
That's
so
awesome.
they were like, power to the players or whatever their thing was. That might be GameStop. This episode is definitely sponsored by
GameStop. Get your used controllers while they're hot.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever their thing was, just like trying to be gamer focused in their marketing. And like now you're kind of bumping up against that with this kind of like very, very kind of like gross anti-consumer move. And it makes me wonder, like, Minecraft and Fortnite are, like, two of the biggest... Like, Fortnite is the biggest game in the world right now. Minecraft is probably in the top 5 still at this point.
Sure.
The fact that there's an entire generation of kids right now, young kids, who don't have the money to buy their own console, who are going to grow up in a couple of years when the new generation comes out and say to themselves, okay, there's a new Xbox and there's a new PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch is still out, I guess. Which of these am I going to get? The answer is not going to be PlayStation.
Right.
Because they got screwed over now. This kind of thing is going to echo out and have a ripple effect in purchasing decisions in a couple of years in a way that I don't think they're really taking into account.
That's a really good point. And I think that, and it just depends on, like if Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo want to operate in their own worlds, or if they want to, because I feel like last generation, the Wii and the Wii U were in their own worlds, like in their own Feywild's extra planar dimension, and Xbox and 360 and PS3 were pretty much the same. Like they had like one or two exclusives, but like those systems were. I think PS3 probably had better hardware, but they were the same level really of like library and such.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just like again, it's that the exclusives and also just the horrible press. People call it the X-Bone. Do you remember that? It was like,
oh yeah.
It just nothing but negativity when it came out. No one in my circle was like, I can't wait. People like wearily bought one if they were, Xbox people.
I will say though, like as someone who has all three of them, and we talked about this a while ago, but I was thinking about, okay, wait until E3 is over and decide if I'm going to sell my Xbox or not, based on what they announced. They didn't announce anything that I wanted like immediately. Like they didn't announce anything in the next coming months that was like, oh, I got to keep my Xbox, but I am keeping it anyway because of this weird PlayStation cross-platform thing, just in the event that a game like that comes out again.
Yeah, and I think that they're sincerely trying to provide for like their customers. I think that they're moving in a good direction, even if it's not like nothing really Xbox exclusive other than like one or two games didn't really stand out to me. Like I'm not a Gears of War fan, really. I'm not a Halo fan. I don't dislike the series. I haven't really been waiting for a new one.
Yeah, are you a Funko Pop video game fan?
I'm a mobile strategy fan.
Yeah,
the Funko Pop.
You joke, but I am going to play that game.
I know, and tell me all about it. The crowd's energy was so. I could feel it. It was
the
like
the whiplash of the Gears logo and then the Funko Pop guy breaking through the wall.
Funko Pop, and they were like, that can't be it. Gears of War 5 looks kind of cool. I'm probably not going to get it because I don't have an Xbox and I'm not going to buy an Xbox for that. But it looks. I don't really know much about the series. It looks like an interesting direction to take it in. But
yeah.
Credit's due.
What do you think at E3 was the weirder announcement? The Gears logo being shown, Funko Pop breaking through the wall, then announcing a Gears strategy game, and then announcing Gears 5, or the the EA moment where the presenter went down and sat with a guy in the audience and was like, "So you're working on a Star Wars game?" And he was like, "Yep," and then that was it.
Probably the latter, only because at least with the Gears announcement, they've ended it with Gears 5.
With the thing that people wanted,
seemed happy with. The beginning was like confusing and scary. The latter moment was just like an empty passing moment in time.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad for just every party involved. Yeah. Oh, so now we might be running out of time, but I remember last time we talked, you had 180'd on Anthem after E3. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that a bit before we close out here?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I have been listening to and reading a lot of kind of firsthand accounts of the Behind Closed Doors demo of Anthem and what that game plays like. It seems like everything that happened behind closed doors was significantly different than what we saw. Because I think, we talked about it pretty extensively last week, but like that game, the way they showed it off at their presentation seemed like a couple things. It seemed like a very empty game that was trying to be Destiny and not doing super well. And it also seemed like the developers were trying to get out in front of the negative press that's going to come out when people play the game and it's like empty in a way in terms like narratively. Because like a lot of those questions that they were asking and answering were like, we built this narrative to be able to extend on for years, and like, don't worry, when the game comes out, that doesn't mean it's the end of it. It's like, yeah. So you're saying like the thing that's going to be on the disc is not going to be that much, and you're going to give us DLC later. So that's kind of at least how it came across to me. it seems like that game is amazing. It seems like
I'm really happy to hear that, because we're both, BioWare fans, and we didn't want this to be their swan song.
Right, yeah.
So what did you hear exactly that made you switch so quickly on your anticipation?
So yeah, there's an episode of Waypoint Radio that they recorded at E3 where they were talking about the actual mechanics of like the actual like game feel in the flight and in the movement specifically, and how flying feels like there's a real weight to it. Like it seems like they focused almost all of their attention on the actual like feel of flying and moving and how like gravity is going to affect that. So like you have this this like jetpack Iron Man kind of vibe, but you can like overheat the thrusters and stuff, and you could just like tumble out of the sky at any moment if you're not like watching that. There you have all these cooldowns and all these special abilities, but apparently they come back so fast that there's never really a moment when you're waiting for your cooldowns. Like, you know how like in most games, Destiny I think is a really good example. When you're playing that game, you have your melee and you have your grenade and you have whatever your like special class thing is. And those three things take a really long time. So you can use 1, 2, 3 and then wait like 5 minutes for any of those to come back. And then for the rest of the time, you're just shooting people with guns and like whatever. You're just playing Destiny. In this game, everything is coming back so quickly that it's like, use one. Okay, zip over this way. Oh, that one's already back, but I already have these other ones as well. So like, let me use this and just like jumping between all the different abilities you have at any given time. So you don't just have to sit there and like use your cooldowns and then shoot some stuff and then wait for all your cooldowns to come back while you're like dodging enemies and whatever. It seems like a really active, frenetic, which is not what I was expecting having watched all that stuff at E3.
That is something that, like, even though I was disappointed with what I saw, the idea of having to fly underwater or like briefly like through water to cool down seemed really interesting.
Yeah.
And it also like you can make a beautiful environment, but if it doesn't have like weight in the game, it might not resonate. But the fact that like natural environments have a function, I think goes a long way in terms of us feeling like we're immersed in it.
Yeah.
That's really, I'm excited to hear that. I don't know, like, I really would love, I mean, honestly, even if it was like just Destiny, but with like a BioWare kind of story, that might be enough for me to want to check it out. But the fact that you're saying that under a gameplay lens, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. It makes me more optimistic.
Right. Because, I mean, if they want this to be a Destiny, then it has to be a game that you enjoy playing, right? Like, mechanically, it has to be something that is really sticky. I am less optimistic about the story side. They seem to be pretty tight-lipped about it, and that stuff really wasn't revealed at all, especially considering like that was supposed to be their big like anthem.
Yeah, well, that's also like what BioWare is known for.
Yeah. It seems like they're not really talking about it, which is kind of giving me pause. But at least it's nice to know that the game is fun to play.
Yeah,
kind of like God of War. Like God of War took, I think, 5 years to make, and they said the first 3 years were just figuring out like combat and throwing the axe and things like that. It seems like a lot of Anthem's development has been front-ended with them figuring out how that game should feel. And I think like if you're going to make an Iron Man game, like flying around as Iron Man should be sick,
Yeah, I mean, that is the one good thing I heard about Andromeda was the combat. Sadly, which is not like what you get Mass Effect 2 experience,
right, yeah.
But I heard that was at least good. So,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
One thing I do want to say before we sign off is that I realized recently that The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is backwards compatible on the Xbox One.
Oh my god!
Which is another reason to keep my Xbox. So I'm going to get that game soon, and I'm very excited to play it again.
Oblivion really is our white whale. Like, as much as we talk about these new games, like nothing will ever give us the like esoteric joy of Oblivion.
Yeah. I'm almost disappointed talking about Oblivion. I'm almost just here's the thing.
10 people talking about Oblivion.
Yeah, here's the second episode of the podcast, and I think we've already identified a trend, which is we're not going to ever be able to make it through an entire recording session without talking about Oblivion.
Before we close off, like, what was with the adoring fan? I didn't love that.
I'm worried about Elder Scrolls 6.
Okay.
just because I know that they're going to try and increase the fidelity of everything, and they're going to try and correct all the mistakes with Oblivion and Skyrim in terms of like voice acting and things like that. Like they have to be keenly aware of all that, but that's also going to mean it's going to remove all the things that I love, because I love how bad some of it is. It's like my favorite part of those games.
Hello, what's new with you? I hear Burrs Grokash's jokes are awful. Seeing you. Nothing's better.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm worried that they're gonna not sand off the gameplay edges, but sand off like the Bethesda gunk for Elder Scrolls 6.
And that's so interesting because we just have that BioWare where like I would honestly, in a good way, because I love both. I love Bethesda and BioWare.
Yeah.
But Bethesda is kind of like the opposite of BioWare, where like BioWare makes these very focused, character-centric, role-playing games.
Mm-hmm.
And Bethesda makes these giant worlds where you ironically get to know no one. It's sort of like,
right.
I have played so much Skyrim and Oblivion and even a bit of Morrowind, and I can't name to you like one memorable character. Like not one. Maybe in the Dark Brotherhood of Oblivion, that's like the one quest that like had like me going like, oh wow, like this is a story.
Yeah.
But overall, it's like I hear there are trolls in my neighbor's house. Please get rid of them.
Yeah, you just get to know the voice actors, the 6 voice actors.
You guys
that
know
they hired.
I remember. So I followed all the hype for Skyrim. I was so excited, and rightfully so, because it ended up being a great game.
Yeah.
That was a nice payoff. But they interviewed one of the developers, I think, or it might have been, I forgot what role he was in the game, but he was like, it was like in the like choir backed promotional ad, like like everyone's talking the game up, and he's like, yeah, in Oblivion we had like 6 actors, and now we have like 20. It was so funny.
But like in a game with literally hundreds of NPCs, 20 still is not enough.
I just love the idea of like someone with like their sides prepared and be like, okay, I'm going to audition for the role of this can't be right. Every elf? Okay, here we go. It's like I'm going to be an entire race of Tamriel.
Yeah. I'm every elf and I'm half the orcs.
Yeah.
And it's the same lines, they just pitched my dialogue down.
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing here? This is an orc stronghold.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I could do them all. Ask me anything.
Okay, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that's a good. I mean, you can't like once you bring up Oblivion, we both go into like a glaze, and like, no one else. Like what actually happens is our eyes turn over and we just start drooling, and everyone else like leaves and says like we can't be around this. So
right. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for listening to Into the Aether, a video game podcast.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Brendan and I have fun doing these, and we're looking to do more of them, and we may find more of a concrete structure, but for now, it's going to be just us talking,
Experimenting.
That's a better word than just us talking. Because, that's really appealing.
Yeah. Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day. That was fun.
TWG, the worst garbage online.